Hi, this is Billie Beene here with another segment of Truth by Billie Beene Special Report. Today's date, September 18, 2022. This is a new YouTube channel for me. I have a subscribe button in the lower right corner of my screen. Thanks for like, subscribe, and share. Episode 401. U.S. and NATO prep for World War III. Some of my sources are God in the Bible, Patriot subscribers, Israeli News Live, Benjamin Fulford-G, Decode, Monkey Werx, Steve Quayle, Hal Turner, Dr. William Mount, Alex Collier, plus Defense Politics in Asia also. So let's get started. Okay. We have Benjamin Fulford coming out with information about, and Benjamin Fulford is a journalist who was raised in Canada, lived in Cuba until he was 3, then moved to Canada, and then he became a journalist when he finished college, moved to Japan, worked for Forbes for about 20 years, and still continues to live in Japan and has contacts with a lot of elite families on a global basis. So Benjamin Fulford. And the information he's bringing forth is that Germany, on September 24, and this date we're hearing a lot about, is saying that in the Parliament, and we have Benjamin Fulford, Dr. William Mount is also bringing out information about this. The German Parliament, an individual in the German Parliament standing up and saying, September 24, you're going to remember that date. Well, there are economic factors coming to bear as well as political moves by a shadow U.S. government, a shadow U.S. military, a shadow NATO. Okay, who wants, and the deep state, who wants war? Okay. So, and we also have Hal Turner bringing out information about this. Okay. Then October 1, Russia's going to cut off gas, no gas to Germany, and we're already hearing about companies having to close their doors and lay off their workers in Germany based on the moves by the unelected political leaders of Germany to fulfill their obligations to NATO, who pays them, and make those sanctions against Russia and cut off oil and gas to the German people, who Scott Ritter says by December are going to be freezing. Now, I've brought out in my other videos some information about an ice age coming in 2030, and we're currently going to be having an earlier, longer, colder winter this year. So, that's going on. So, we see moves going on. And by October 1, according to Benjamin Fulford, the U.S. dollar is not going to be accepted anywhere globally for trade. And that's currently why a lot of the trade from China has been cut off to our ports. And we see Walmart closing. That information came from Mike from around the world, who works for the NSA, we believe. That within the Walmart would close 20% of its locations, and I had some information from a Patriot subscriber that in the United States, Walmart had just recently closed 60 locations, and then Mike said in another 6 months they would close another 20%. And then we've had that information from Judy Byington and Hal Turner about Amazon laying off 100,000 workers and now closing many locations. And also Judy Byington for Walmart in August suddenly canceled millions of dollars of orders. So that's going on. We know, we have multiple sources. So this This stuff is real. Okay, now Gene Decode is bringing this out. I'll draw you a map. We're hearing conflicting reports. We have Crimea. This is Ukraine. And we have Luhansk, Donetsk, the Donbass area. We have Kharkiv up here and Kherson. Now, these two locations recently had major counter-offensives by Ukraine and had significant losses. We understand 12,000 killed and 25,000 wounded between the two locations. Now, we're hearing from Gene Decode, who is remote viewing for Kharkiv. The heavy shelling is taking place, and Gene's information came out yesterday, so that was 9/17. All right, so that's going on, and we have heard that Ukraine has taken into its military all of its males 14 years of age to 75, and then recently began recruiting women in certain occupations, according to A Christeferou, a Greek journalist. But we understand the deep state, one of the deep state objectives inside Ukraine is to kill the genetic line of both Ukraine people and the Slavic Russian-speaking people in this area and other areas. So yeah, the deep state's against all of the people. So they just keep sending them to the front line. Now, we have this coming out from Defense Politics in Asia. He just came out with this yesterday. In Kherson, so that would have been either the 16th or the 17th, depending on, the time zone. There were Ukraine commandos who went into the Kherson area, deep inside the city of Kherson, to take out a railroad location. And they were all killed by Russian forces. But for some reason, Ukraine wanted to send that group in. Now, we have this. Israeli News Live, Stephen Benin, formerly with the CIA, now as a ministry, regularly gets updates from the Pentagon. And also Dr. William Mount, ex-military and previously an ambassador to Ukraine. All right, so Dr. William Mount in March of 2022 said inside Ukraine there were 10,000 U.S. troops. Now, we've heard multiple reports about those HIMARS, that new type of U.S. missile being inside Ukraine, and that only the U.S. military is firing the HIMARS because the U.S. military will not give the software codes to Ukraine or other nations. So, and I'd also put out some additional information about the HIMARS in regard to their attack on Crimea. That was by the U.S. military. Anytime you hear HIMARS are going off in Ukraine, it's good to understand they are being launched by U.S. military. Okay. Now, we also had a few months ago, we had inside Ukraine, we had this location, Mariupol. And we saw, that was the headquarters for the Azov, the nationalist quasi-military group inside Ukraine, supported, trained by NATO, who actively practiced the philosophy of Germany World War II. Azov plus. There were U.S. military there. There were NATO military. This was a few months ago, like in March. And we also had Kiev, the capital of Ukraine launching multiple, I think there was about 7 or 8 helicopters they sent in to try and rescue someone being held here, because Russia took this early in March. And we understand that those captured and all of these helicopters were taken down by Russia, and all of the people in commandos, special forces involved were killed by Russia. Now, so Russia eventually took Mariupol. Some of the people they captured was U.S. General Clothier. He was high-ranking U.S. general with NATO. He was captured. There was also a retired general from Canada and other NATO generals from other nations. We understand they're currently in Siberia. So if you wonder why Brittany Griner Plus is being held in Russia, I suspect it's one of these reasons. And inside the U.S., they have some people, and in Germany, they have some people that Russia wants. Okay, so that's going on. Now, we have, a few months ago, we had, here's Ukraine, here's the Arctic, the Svalbard Islands, where Russia has had a mining group for about 40 years. For some reason, Norway, who is part of NATO, blocked Russia from resupplying their mining group. Now, eventually, Norway did supply the group, but I found it odd that what's going on in the Arctic. Well, now we get this information that Russia has ramped up their locations on islands there in the Arctic with military forces. So that's been going on. So we can see there has been a move by NATO from the beginning, from the get-go. This started in 2014, trying to force a war in this area. Now, so in Ukraine, we have Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Kaliningrad. Here's Russia. And we know, we heard a few months ago that this is the Sea of Finland. Here's Finland, Sweden, Norway. And we know that efforts have been made to bring Finland and Sweden into NATO. That's going on. And just a few months ago, in Kaliningrad, which is a Russian enclave, suddenly Lithuania said, no, you're not going to be able to ship on our railroads and roads to Kaliningrad. So Russia said, fine, we'll bring it by ship down to the Sea of Finland. Well, what was set up here? But NATO warships. So we see NATO and the U.S. and other nations have been intent on setting up various things for World War III. Now, we have this going on. So let me draw you a map. So we have Ukraine, we have Russia, we have Belarus, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Kaliningrad. And then we have Poland, we have Slovakia, we have Hungary, we have Moldova, we have Romania, we have Bulgaria, and then we have the Black Sea, and then down here we have Turkey, we have Armenia, we have Azerbaijan, we have Iran. Now this is a NATO-pushed pincer movement coming from this direction and also this direction, as I just demonstrated to you with the NATO warships in the Gulf of Finland. All set up. Well, let's find out what's going on here. Okay. We have in And these are coming from Steve Quayle's site on Hal Turner's information, Dr. William Mount, and Israeli News Live, and Monkey Werx. Okay. So now, on 9/16, Iran put together troops on its border with Armenia because Azerbaijan has been attacking Armenia. These are NATO backed groups and weapons that are doing this. So Iran put their troops right here. Now Turkey called up 45,000 troops because Turkey is supporting Azerbaijan. Now, this is going on in this area. Now we have, this is from Steve Quayle, Hal Turner, Monkey Werx. Okay, right here in Moldova, we have NATO bringing in through Romania to Moldova. They're bringing in weapons, HIMARS, and again, the HIMARS are only fired by U.S. military. To Moldova. Now, part of, there's a small Russian enclave in Transnistria right here with Russian troops, right here. Now, we also have Turkey. We've also got Georgia, the nation of Georgia, and we have things going on there. Yeah. All right, so Hal Turner can verify that NATO is bringing in a high number of HIMARS through Romania to Moldova. And they have videos to support that. Now, Monkey Werx can verify that U.S. planes are flying over Moldova. Monkey Werx also is saying this right here in Georgia, this nation of Georgia. It's hot. There's U.S. military boots on the ground right here. Okay. Now we have this from the Steve Quayle site, the Sun tabloid or Sun source is talking about fire and fury. The Russian military has an exercise going on. So here we have the U.S., we have Alaska right here, Canada. So Russia has an exercise going on there, 30 warships, nuclear subs. And Russia has really ramped up their activity in the Arctic Circle. And Russia has made this statement: if the U.S. supplies long-range missiles to Ukraine that are going to reach Crimea or Russia in this area, that's going to be a game changer. So we see that things are coming about. And now let me go over again the nuke situation. And that comes from Dr. William Mount and Alex Collier. And Dr. Mount and Alex Collier are saying there are something like 200 nukes in play. And recently we heard that the Pentagon had located a dirty nuke inside New York City. This is September, I believe that happened in August. That report came from Stephen Benoon, his information from the Pentagon. And just prior to that, there had been 2 TV warnings on the TV sets in the New York area. What do you do in the event of a nuke? And the second message was pack a go bag for yourself, your children, your pets be ready to leave at a moment's notice. And then, like within 24 hours, Stephen came out with that report that they had located a dirty nuke inside New York City. Now, we're hearing this, 200 nukes are loose that the deep state has. And I had a Patriot subscriber who said, I don't think they can explode, right, but they can put explosives around them enough to release the radioactive material and become what's called a dirty nuke. 3 are in Europe. And we had someone with the German government standing up in Parliament saying people are going to remember where they were September 24. And then we have these economic factors. The Vatican is calling back their money from all their banks on a global basis to be back in the Vatican Bank by October 1. And other economic, I think a payment is due October 1. I believe that's from the U.S. government. There's no money to cover it for the deep state because other nations globally are not accepting the U.S. dollar. So we see various factors coming to be. So we know what to be in prayer about. Now, also New York. So we have recently in Colorado, in Denver, TV statements coming out, how to pack an evacuation bag and passing out evacuation bags. So, one was on 9/11 and the second one's going to be on 9/24. Who can underestimate the deep state? These people are evil. So at least we know now what to pray against. But we do, I believe, need to be aware because we're not getting information. Let's see. There was a source, I think that was either Gene Decode, Benjamin Fulford, or Dr. William Mount. The U.S. believes, was a poll taken, the mainstream media and their government. They believe the mainstream media, 11%. The U.S. government, 7%. So you have a people of over 300 million who have zero belief in either the government or the mainstream media. And let's recall, we, the 100 million American citizen patriots, are definitely ready to support our U.S. military in any way that we can. So, let's just be in prayer for the world and the Ukraine and Russia and the United States. I love you, and I'll see you soon.